Good morning and welcome all to the Community Standing Committee meeting for Wednesday the 10th of November. It's now my pleasure to call the meeting open at 9:02 a.m. and commence the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay. Do we have any requests for leave of absence? Any apologies? No, we'll move on. Councillor Duff, welcome you to provide the recognition of traditional owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Councillors, in terms of today's committee meeting, you have the agenda at hand. Does any councillor have a prescribed or declarable conflict of interest to disclose? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to declare for item 7.4, the Coolabunny Sale Yards Working Group report, that my company, Shuey Brothers Pastoral, has purchased and sold cattle at the facility. And I guess I was seeking some advice. I don't think it actually in any way, like many of my other councillors, impedes my ability to participate in this conversation in an impartial manner. But of course, I would seek some advice from our CEO just in relation to that, as I'm mindful that many of my colleagues share a similar interest in that facility.
Did we deal with yours? I'm just looking at Linnell and trying to think. I thought we'd dealt with yours at the same time we did all the others. So this one's been brought up before. So unless circumstances, we'll note it, but unless circumstances have changed from the other resolution, which either allowed you to stay in the room without it.
My understanding, you'd have to declare your conflict anytime the agenda item came up. But please,
no, that's
true
fine.
And correct. I just figured it was an agenda item and I should declare that interest.
No, that's what I say. We'll note it, but no circumstances has changed since the last one. No, we'll note him. It's fine.
Thank you. If it can be noted, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr CEO and Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like mine declarable conflict noted as well. Thank you.
Note those in relation to 7.4, Mr CEO.
Mayor, well, what if councillors are amenable, just for saving a little bit of time, we will go through and all of the ones that we noted for the previous resolution. By exception, no circumstances have changed since the last time this matter's been dealt with. All right. Well, we will note all of the previous ones in the minutes again this time, and we will put a note against it that we were advised that no circumstance. Certainly, certainly raise them by all means, and particularly if something changes, that I'm very interested then as well. Thank you.
Councillor Hensham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor and Mr CEO, and the same as Councillor Shoemaker and Councillor Duff. I'm sure Councillor Jones just let it be noted that previous conflict could be declared on that, or a possible conflict on that. 7.4. Thank you.
Let's move on to the item 5.1, which is minutes of the previous meeting, held on the 30th of October, can be found at 6 on the agenda. Recommendation is that the minutes of the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 30th of October 2021 be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Froeloff. Okay. Matters to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 6.1, I'd like to invite Councillor Potter to present the Community Arts, Heritage, Sport and Recreation Portfolio Report, and that's at page 22. Thank you, Councillor Potter.
You'll have to excuse me, Mr Mayor. I'll have to read off the screen today because my computer's not bringing up my minutes on my computer. So,
Shall I play with it while you...
Thank you. Thank you, sorry. So far we've got the South Burnett Libraries Get Spooky. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Much appreciated. South Burnett Libraries Get Spooky. So the Black Button Proston Libraries were overrun by the spooky visitors during the recent Freaky Friday events, with 30 ghosts and ghouls visiting Blackbutt and 20 scary souls enjoying the festivities at Proston. It was all hands on deck at the Kingaroy Library Spooky Saturday event on Saturday the 30th of October, and it was wonderful to see families dressed in their scary best taking part in the variety of activities available on the morning. Sand art at the Kingdom of Libreria station, face painting and Halloween bingo were all very popular with the children in attendance. It is estimated that over 150 families visited the library to take part in the spooky celebrations, which ran from 9 a.m. till 12 noon. 25 new memberships were generated during the morning, with lots of new faces visiting the library for the first time. And the library staff can't wait to do it all again next year. The Nanango State School Under 8s Day, the South Burnett Libraries had planned to attend the Nanango State School's Under 8s Day celebrations on Friday the 29th for an outreach event, but unfortunately the festivities were postponed. The library staff are now planning on how they can take part in the rescheduled event. My Aged Care information sessions. Community members are invited to speak with an advisor from Lutheran Services about My Aged Care and how to navigate through the services and packages available locally for seniors. This process can be daunting, and without assistance and these information sessions, it will be a great way to assist seniors to find the right advice regarding their entitlements. The information sessions will be held as follows. Wednesday the 24th of November, 10:30 a.m. at the Wando Library. Thursday the 25th of November, 9:30 at the Kingaroy Library. Thursday the 25th of November from 12 noon at the Nanango Library. And sorry, that was it. And then with the Kingaroy Library introducing a stay and play, the Kingaroy Library recently introduced a new first five ever program called Stay and Play. This playgroup aims to connect families in the community and provides a relaxed space to talk, play, sing and read. A library staff member is present during the sessions with puzzles, books, games and interactive toys for the kids to enjoy, giving parents and carers the chance to join in whilst chatting and getting to know those in attendance. So far, this playgroup has proved popular with local families for the first 3 sessions, attracting 36 adults and children. Families and carers with little ones are invited to join in the fun every Friday morning at 10 a.m. South Burnett Libraries signage project acquittal. In June 2020, the South Burnett Libraries were successful in applying for the Library Priority Project Grant, which was sought to update and rejuvenate the signage and display items at each of our 6 branches. The project is now complete, with the acquittal forwarded to the State Library of Queensland on the 26th of October 21. The project facilitated the purchase of premium directional signage and sectional dividers, which have greatly increased the discoverability of items in the collection. These modern and attractive products encourage patrons to explore areas of the library they may have otherwise overlooked. To complement the new signage, staff worked hard to weed grubby and older items from the collection to make way for acrylic easel display, which were also purchased using funding from the grant. These easels have been placed at the end of our shelves to highlight new and attractive titles. Acrylic book display holders and display discs also add colour and interest to otherwise plain spaces. Many of these titles added to these new displays do not stay there for long. The grant also facilitated the purchase of some new sled-based chairs at the Kingaroy Library to add a more contemporary feel to the space. The customers love them and tell the library staff that they are very comfortable. Overall, the South Burnett signage project has been a success for the library, creating uniformity across each of the branches whilst increasing access to the collections. Many customers have commented on how good the shelves and spaces are looking. So for the library, that's a win-win for sure. The Community Expo. South Burnett Libraries are excited to be attending the very first Health and Community Expo on the 18th and 19th of November this year at the Kingaroy Town Hall. Library staff will be manning a stall to showcase what our libraries have to offer to our community. Not only books, but DVDs and magazines and the regular programs that take place in each of the branch that are designed to connect our community and engage members. Pinking up Proston for breast cancer. The Proston Library was duly cloaked in pink for the month of October to support breast cancer awareness. The community as a whole really gets behind this cause, and there is pink all around the town and fences, front yards, etc. And all the businesses have pink window displays. The library display always receives a very favourable review from all. Sport and recreation. The Ashgrove Rangers Athletics Club held a competitive relay along the rail trail in the October long weekend. Over 100 runners completed this 60.2 kilometre event, starting at the Liberty Fuel service station to Wondai and back. The event concluded at O'Neill Square with a barbecue and presentation that the organisers were extremely impressed with, and the rail trail facility and the hospitality shown at all that stayed in the and the hospitality shown, and all stayed in the South Burnett during their stay. The South Burnett is very fortunate to now have 3 park runs operating for locals and visitors to partake every Saturday to increase their physical activity and fitness level. Following the official commencement of Proston this month, Nanango and Wondai are the other 2 park runs operated by a very dedicated group of volunteers. And I'd like to move that my portfolio report be accepted. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson. Speakers? Councillor Jones.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I took note of the My Age Care information sessions. I think they are a wonderful initiative, and I was just wondering, we've got Wondai, Kingaroy and Nanango. There's nothing out around that western rural part of the region, and has council sought any funding in regards to extending that across, to take it right across our whole region? If not, is the council able to play a part in extending those sessions across? Because I think that's a very good initiative shown for the aged people in our community.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, for the question. Through you, Mr Mayor. This is an initiative that is done by the library itself, so we aren't getting any funding for this. We contacted Lutheran Services and they've supplied one of their people to actually come and talk to the community. So, but I'm sure with, through General Manager O'May, this might be something that we could take further, but, you know, I suppose that would need a budget for the library to do that.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, Councillor Jones, yeah, we can look at sort of trying to organise, discuss with Lutheran Service where they're willing to do something, say at the Black Butt Customer Service Centre Library.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, General Manager. Okay, if there's no further speakers in relation to the report, thank you, Councillor Potter. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carry unanimously. Thank you all. 6.2, options to refurbish the brick entrances at the corner of Fisher and Adamant Streets in Kingaroy is at 26. General Manager, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. So, yeah, this is in response to a question from Councillor Shoemaker regarding the graffiti on the brick walls up there. So, as council will be aware, they are a structure that adjoins the private property and council's road reserve. So we've gone through and obtained a quote. So the recommendation is that we do actually remove that graffiti for community aesthetics purposes. But going further from that, there was a request to investigate ongoing maintenance and future refurbishment. What we're looking at doing is if we can do the media blasting to actually remove the graffiti now, and then just look at when the structures do need, like they're in okay condition now, if we get them aesthetically looking okay, but we really need to talk to the adjoining owners on the future maintenance and of them. So basically all we're looking at doing is getting approval to do the graffiti removal now, and then just look at the structures, not commit to ongoing refurbishment or maintenance, but just look at that at the time if it comes up, and have those discussions at that time with the community and the adjoining owners.
Thank you, General Manager. The recommendation is that the report be received, and council notes that the graffiti will be removed through normal operational processes. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker. Seconder? Councillor Potter, thank you. Speakers?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just in taking in light on what General Manager's just said, so this structure is not on private land. Have we got, like, I'm just making sure that we've got everything in, ticking all the boxes to make sure that we have no repercussions or anything like that, addressing stuff on private property or something like that. I'm happy to, I understand and fully support it, but I just want to make sure that there's no legalities that we're not overlooking or something like that.
Yeah, through you. So, yeah, so the structures are located on the boundary between the private property and council reserve. So I suppose there's liability on both sides potentially. They were ultimately an entrance piece to the new estate when it was developed. So we don't have them on our asset register. We're not depreciating them, collecting depreciation for future refurbishment. And so the idea is not to actually take them on as an asset and depreciate, because we said that. And the report notes that they've really served their purpose as the identification of that, that entrance statement to that piece when the developer was trying to sell the land. It was probably so they've really served their purpose for that development side of things. So what we're suggesting is when it does come, if there was a safety issue, we'd have to address it now. If there was risk of a failure or a fall, so they are low risk. They're in good condition structurally at the moment. So it's just something we would need to look at. And then if there was a structural issue where we had to remove them, then it would be looking at, is there a desire to keep them? They really only serve an aesthetics, for community aesthetics at the moment. So, we're really just not looking at taking them on as an asset and saying we're going to refurbishment and replace them at the time. It was really make that assessment at the time.
Thank you, GM. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, fully agree with the approach and think that's the responsible thing to do. Just wanted to thank and acknowledge the work the team have done to remove this graffiti. I know it's very important to the residents of that area, so thank you very much. And certainly I do agree with the approach that they shouldn't be added to council's asset register over the long term. So just thank you for the for your attention to this matter, which I know is very important to the residents of that area. Thank you.
Okay, no further speakers. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 6.3, application for funding under the Strong and Resilient Community Activity Inclusive Communities Grant at 28. To you again. Thank you, General Manager.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. So this is just seeking council's endorsement for an application we're putting together to the Strong Resilient Communities funding round. So this is our new youth mental health officer is working on this and just looking at developing a program. So just for activities for those, I think you've identified in the reports those disadvantaged groups. So it's really just seeking council's endorsement for the grant application, which is currently under preparation.
Thank you, General Manager. Recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council endorse the submission of an application under the Strong and Resilient Communities Activity Grant. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, thank you. Second, Councillor Duff. Speakers? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I just had a couple of questions. Certainly agree with the approach and anything we can do to support these vulnerable groups in our community. Councillor Potter and some of our team members attended a homeless and housing forum in Bundaberg yesterday, where we learned that vulnerable women over the age of 50 are the largest growing rate of people homeless in our society, which is a terrifying statistic. Fully supportive of the application. I just wanted to understand in terms of identified partners or potential projects for this funding application, what work might have been happening behind the scenes I can see you've identified these groups for funding. Just wondering, have we identified specific partners or what work's happening, I guess, behind the scenes in preparation for this grant?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so at this stage, we're just basically trying to get the application together to get the funding, so that the officer will engage with Councillor Ponder and the interagency group, so they have those meetings with all of the partners to try bring those on board, because you don't want to be, you certainly won't want to be trying to duplicate other programs that are out there. So it'll be through those interagency meetings that the officer is now attending with Councillor Potter, just to I suppose target activities that aren't going to clash or that will complement other service providers and include them as partners where possible.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Certainly, I think collaboration in this area is very important, and working together to really target some of these areas. So thank you for the update.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just want to know, is it matching contribution, or is it just straight out grant, and what sort of figures were we thinking of applying for? What sort of amount?
I'm not exactly sure what the final figure come out. It's a fully funded program, but I think it's in again around that 75,000. But we'll just have to take that on notice and see what the application does come up to.
Thank you, General Manager. No further speakers. We'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, General Manager. 7.1, now I'd like to welcome Councillor Henshin to present the Rural Services Natural Resource Management Planning and Compliance Services Portfolio Report at 29. Thank you, Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and fellow councillors. It's before I run into my Rural Services and Natural Resource Management Compliance Services, can I just say for the first time since I've been in council, I've looked over the bridges coming to council today and there's water. There is some water. On that, yesterday and today I've done miles from the west of the South Burnett region and fortunate this morning to go to Nanango. I've crossed nearly every creek, tributary river that runs to our water storages. I'll just give you a quick update. There's no water in the Iron Pot, there's no water in the Boyne. The Jumma Creek had an incredible flush in it, which was almost 3 metres last night, which is the first time it's run. That water runs into the Boyne River. The Boyne has had a fresh in it up on my end of where I cross it, which is approximately about 1 metre. Unfortunately, that doesn't go far down the system. The Stewart River, there's not a lot in the headwaters of the Stewart River. I went to Weensbridge where the measuring station is yesterday. There's some water running down there. There will be some water go downstream because it takes a while to get there. To Nanango this morning, crossing the Flagstone, and the Barkers across. As we know, Maidenwell had some fantastic rain up there the other day. That ran probably half to 2/3 of the bank. That water's gone and it's heading towards BP Dam. To give you an idea, we use approximately an evaporation, it's about a percentage a month. So whatever percentage we get in our dams out of this is another month up our sleeve. So let's hope today, tomorrow and Friday that they're talking, we get some more that runs down. The Boyne River, and I'm sure Councillor Duff saw this morning, out on my Geelong end, it hadn't taken the floodgates yet, so that's only just covering the sand. But the good news is we've had anywhere from 50 to 150 mils across our region in certain places. It was great to see that rain on the Bunya Mountains. I stood there on Sunday afternoon with anticipation. Unfortunately, it ran on the other side to Western Downs, but on the end of it on Councillor Jones's end, there was some magnificent rains up on the Maidenwell and Barkers Creek end. So that's sensational news to start my day with. It's been a pleasure. I've had a sore neck going across all these creeks and rivers and tributaries for 18 months and there's been nothing in them. So it's a pleasant change to see some water. Okay, moving on with my report, Rural Services. Magpie Management, licensed magpie relocators were engaged to remove 31 magpies identified by residents as causing harm or injury within the South Burnett. A total of 18 magpies were successfully relocated to other areas within the South Burnett and Lockyer Valley. The remaining birds were either not present at the time of trapping, did not respond to the decoy, or residents in the area raised concerns regarding the relocation program. In environmental assessments, NRM staff completed and approved 2 roadside burning applications in October and 2 roads were assessed ahead of vegetation clearing for gravel resheeting program. In the weed management, a total of 17.5 hectares of weed control was completed in October and biosecurity officers carried out 47 weed inspections for the presence of mother of millions, groundsel and other restricted weeds. Treatment of tree pear and lantana continued at Chipinga, Balogi, Coolabunya, Hodgeley and Warrulan. And again, splatter guns were loaned by landowners at Haley Creek and Brooklands, and spray trailers were loaned to assist with joint rat-tail grass programs at Warroondin. In wild dog and feral pig control, 2 landowners were assisted in the control of wild dogs, and a total of 400 hectares were baited, while no dog bounties were collected in October. The Coolabunya sale yard staff conducted 1,252 cattle tick inspections and dipped 1,278 head. A total of 886 head were sold through the Coolabunya sale yards in October, and pen cleaning has been completed and dead tree removal from behind the office and canteen. In stock route grazing permits, no stock route applications were received in October. With wandering livestock, Council received 5 requests to attend to wandering livestock across the region, and no livestock were impounded. Planning and building, a total of 9 new development applications were received in October, and a total of 32 applications are currently being processed, or awaiting information from the applicant to enable further assessment. Council has engaged the services of Contract Building Certifier for 3 days per week up until the end of the year to assist with the increased number of building application searches and inquiries being received, and it is intended to employ a full-time certifier in the new year. That speaks for itself as to what's going on in our area. Environmental health compliance, the annual food inspection program has been completed and approximately 217 food licence renewals were issued in October. Approximately 30 applications have not been renewed to date, and operators will be issued with a show cause notices as to why they have not paid their renewal fee, or alternatively requesting them return the signed renewal application form together with the outstanding fee. A list of other current licences are detailed below, and they are 13 food safety programs for annual audit return and accreditations that are being finalised this year. 88 water samples were taken from food premises. 17 private water samples requests were undertaken. 5 personal appearances, that's tattoo and piercing businesses, the services have also been licensed this year, and 10 domestic water carriers are licensed, and 9 caravan parks are licensed, with inspections yet to be finalised. An environmental health contractor has provided assistance on 5 days per fortnight basis in the last 4 months to complete the inspection program, and this has allowed our full-time staff to concentrate on a large number of environmental health complaints and investigations, resulting in a reduction from approximately 380 complaints in June 2021 to approximately 43 new and active investigations. And with COVID, council officers have continued to monitor the Queensland Health Directive with updates providing for staff, as well as providing support to local businesses, individuals and community groups, including liaison and answering questions. And I encourage people to be diligent. We know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks within our state and within our country, and encourage everyone to be happy, healthy and stay safe over this upcoming couple of months and couple of weeks. With that, Mr Mayor, I'd like my Natural Resource Management and Planning Compliance Services, along with my Rural Services, report be received. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Fradolf, thank you. Okay, any speakers? Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a question to Councillor Henson, and in regards to the Coolabunna sale yards and the progress with the working group and trying to secure the future. Is there any update on I know you have had a meeting in the last week or so. Is there an update on that? And yeah.
Just, sorry, Councillor Jones, there is item 7.4, and I think we're going to get a fairly complete report there. So are you happy if we leave it till then? 7.4? Yep, Councillor
Sorry,
Henson.
my apologies.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr Mayor. We're leading into that, and I'm sure our manager, Mark Watt, will be able to give us an update with that 7.4. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question. Just with the lantana weed management, how do we decide where, I know it's it's just an environmental weed, how do we decide where we're going to spray the lantana? Is that based on residents' complaints, or how do we decide that? That's the first question.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Yeah, that is communication within our community, of course, and waterways, and is where it is, and the risk of it invading private property as well through the fence lines, and I'm sure our staff can elaborate a little more on that. But that is a case-by-case, undertaken on a case-by-case study as to where it is and how big it is and where it's going and where it's come from.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, just to add that, yeah, so the team have a risk matrix, and they have a look at a lot of those factors where Councillor Henson has talked about, and sometimes it might be the ability to contain or those things. So yeah, there is a risk matrix that they use for all of the weeds they run through. So yeah, they can prioritise what weeds are sprayed in what areas. So, yeah, there is a risk matrix tool they use.
So through you, Mr Mayor, one more question. Just what happening? I know we had that workshop, but just wanting to know where we're at with the policy on non-compliant buildings.
Yeah, I think through you, Mr Mayor. So that's still we're still talking with the solicitors, and that's still a work in progress. So yeah, probably haven't got an update at this stage, Councillor Duff. But we can follow up and provide a bit of a time frame. But yeah, just haven't got that on the top of our head.
We might just record that as a question on notice if we can, Councillor Duff, and report back to the next meeting.
That would
Yeah,
be good, thank you.
Okay, any further speakers? If not, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 7.2 is the Natural Resource Management Operational Update at 31. Just in light of time today, councillors, I do have to leave at 11:15. I'm just wondering if the committee's happy if that is presented, is taken as presented. If you have any questions that are urgent, please share them today. Otherwise, if they're not, if you could please go back to General Manager O'May and he'll be happy to answer those. So we have the recommendation that the Natural Resource Management Operational Update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Frolov, thank you. So does anyone have any questions, concerns in relation to the report that you that you'd like to have addressed today? No? Happy to proceed? Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all, and thank you, General Manager, for bringing that forward. The next one is the 7.3 is the Planning and Land Management Operational Update at 35. Similarly, the recommendation is that the update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Henson, thank you. Questions? No, we're fairly comfortable with the contents of the report. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. And thank you, General Manager and Manager Mike, for bringing that forward. The item 7.4, Coolabunnya Sale Yards Working Group Report at 39. Thank you, General Manager and Manager Watt.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I'll hand over to our Manager of Parks and Gardens, NRM, who's been coordinating this group.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So, councillors, the report is presented, and there's some detail regarding the background on that one, and I guess my discussions with that item. So, I probably won't read through the report as such. Hopefully, you've had a chance to review that. But I guess really the main elements or the main outcomes would be for you to consider really the action plan. If you're happy with the action plan and the content of that, that you would refer that back to the working group to continue along the lines of that action plan. The main focus would be to, I guess, look at fees, just the content of the action plan, look at the fees and charges that we're currently have set there. Have a look at the asset replacement program. I think that's well overdue to be progressed. And I think after a meeting, I updated you via email last night regarding a recent meeting with the users of the sale yards, if you like, some of the users. And it helps us, certainly helps us focus and prioritise some of those asset replacement programs. So I guess with the support of the working group, we can begin to sort of break down the elements of that capital funding this year, begin to look at, water troughs and yard improvements and reconfiguring anything we need to do to, I guess, change the priorities or the activities there if there's a need or a perception by either council today or the working group to investigate that more closely. So I think we just need to get on with things, and certainly it might be that's more at the operational level, if you like, in terms of the capital. I guess if there's any comments from council today regarding the future strategic direction of the sale yards, that may not change whatsoever. I haven't recommended anything in that space. It's really just getting on with business there and implementing the action plan.
Thank you,
So
Manager.
I'd be happy to just get council's thoughts and direction, really.
Thank you, Manager. So the recommendation is that the committee recommends to council that the report be received and council adopt the Coolabunnya Sale Yards Working Group action plan as presented, and that the working group be directed to continue to develop and implement the action plan with updates to council on a regular basis. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, second to Councillor Potter. Thank you. Okay, speakers. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just thinking that at item 7, where we've got prepared draft capital expenditure plan for consideration by council, I think that needs to be in consultation with the users, Because I think that was demonstrated the other day when we met with some of the users that, that they can help to prioritise what they think is the most important items. So I'm just wanting to have that added, if possible, to that action plan in consultation with the users. And also a question as to the due date. You've got 2021, perhaps, we need to, for that capital expenditure.
So councillor Duff, just to clarify, item 7 on the action plan, is that what you're referring to? And so what are you suggesting there, that be reworded? Yeah, and were you suggesting that there's a due date on that? Did you say June? Okay. Manager, just your thoughts on that?
Well, that's fine. We had that meeting the other day with the users, and I felt that we got some good direction from them at that meeting in terms of the priorities. Again, I'd be happy to just amend that accordingly. That will come back to council, so I would say that's a given anyway, because we, as I say, we did get some direction from them. I specifically did ask them in that line of priorities. If council's, I would probably just finalise that asset replacement program and just bring it back for council if you felt that was necessary, or incorporate it in the budget review, just to sort of prioritise that money, which is almost completed anyway by virtue of our current understanding and comments from the users. So that's not a hard one to do and to complete and get back to council, whether you want to see it again or whether you just want us to report on it as we progress that. But otherwise, I think, unless council has any other broader issues with the sale yards, to me, it's business as usual. There's no other money, there's no other strategic direction from council. It's just business as usual. Implement the action plan.
So in terms of the capital program out there, Manager, Councillor Duff's talking in relation to that specifically. There's a draft capital expenditure plan. Is there more work to be done in consulting with the users to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the user groups out there? Do you feel?
No, I think we just consult with them prior to finalising it. I just get their feedback. It's not a hard one. It's only a few items, like, for example, it's water troughs, it's yard improvements, it's probably, they've already indicated that they would prefer a Telstra booster system there, which is I've already discussed that with our IT people. That's already been thought about, following on from the upgrade of the wireless link to Ushers Hill. I know I haven't got the notes in front of me, but the other aspects of that asset plan are already, everyone knows what they are. It's just prioritising them really and just getting them done and dusted within the remaining time frame of this year.
So that would be part of, so having that completed by June 2021 as part of our budget process?
I would expect so. I think most of those elements would be doable by June, I would have thought. But again, based on our final priorities, we'll just have to report back to you on that.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I want to go to number 8 on the action plan, where it says prepare a revised fees and charges schedule based on market rates. I want to question to acting manager, what emphasis have we put on that? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but are our fees and charges less currently than what the Merkin sale yards are? And if so, haven't we got an obligation to be at least a minimum a little bit higher than them with legislation? I'm happy to be corrected. I might have it wrong. A couple of other things while I'm going, or I'll allow you to answer that question first. Yep, sorry.
Well, in by and large, I think our fees are lower, and I think we can easily review them and report back to you with equitable or similar rates to other sale yards. I haven't analysed them myself, but I'm just going on reports from the relevant staff that our fees are, not as high as other sale yards in the region.
Thank you very much. So I believe, and I'm happy to be corrected, but I thought that as a local government authority, we could not be less than a privately owned business. I'm happy to be corrected there.
Yeah, Councillor Jones, it's not so much, totally understand your point. What it has to be is that we can't be, we shouldn't, I shouldn't say can't, we should not be competing with a private entity and cross-subsidising that. So if we're running it as a commercial business, like being a sale yards, well then it should be reflective of the cost of running that business. So we can't be, I'll pick a silly example, utilising library funding and offsetting the costs of running it, because it has to run on its own merit and be competitive neutrality. So yeah, it needs to be costed as per the cost of running. Now, if we can efficiently run the business and be lower, fine, that's good. If we're not so able, well then it is the fees reflect the actual cost of running the business.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and obviously at running at a loss for the last 5 years, it indicates that we need to look at those fees and charges. My other comment is we're unsuccessful with the grant money, and with this council, the current way they're putting budgets together, this is my opinion only, I don't know how in the hell we're going to maintain and improve those sale yards at a costly and significant benefit to the community, and also that we get compared regularly with the community out there with Roma and Warwick and all those sort of stuff with huge numbers, council-owned facility yards. And again, here we are comparing South Burnett with other councils. I don't think it's a fair comparison, because at the moment we're struggling. Yes, it's good times. We have huge weaner sales and store sales and all that sort of stuff, and there's one coming up on the 25th of November, and they're getting big numbers. But when this all settles down, do we go back to struggling to get 200, 300 head through the sale on a fortnightly basis, and sometimes those sales are cancelled? This is something that we really need to look at. Is this council in a position financially to continue maintaining? And I fully understand we've been through this process, but they're just my opinions, my personal opinions, and my concerns moving forward with the sale yards.
Actually, yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, just a comment just regarding the capital expenditure plan that the acting manager is talking about. So that's looking at those urgent renewal works that are required now. So that's not talking about a capital expenditure program for the refurbishment, renewal of the yards and upgrades at all. So, yeah, which is what I think Councillor Jones is alluding to, which is a lot larger piece of work, and that was where we were. Hopefully the BBRF funding application would have been able to assist in doing those renewal and upgrades. So what we're talking about there is really just those urgent work that is required, capital renewals that are required now to continue to maintain the yards probably at their current condition, which, to be honest, is poor. So it isn't really to upgrade or refurbishment. So just a clarification.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, fully accept that, and I'm happy to accept those urgent upgrades and all that do need to make it a sustainable place and safe working place. But yeah, my concerns are around the future and the capital expenditure moving forward with major upgrades.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Jones and General Manager. I think that is covered in the action plan, in that the action plan does state that staff will be reviewing the fees, as you said, at item 8, so that will be happening as part of the action plan implementation, if adopted. And of course, it also talks, the action plan also includes continuing to review the SWOT analysis to include other actions appropriate to progress. And in the SWOT analysis, it is identified as a weakness that there is a lack of stock in the region for sales, both fat sales and small catchment, due to the fat sales in the small catchment area, and that there is an underutilised bull sale arena. So I would expect, Manager, that would be part, as indicated there at item 9, the action plan implementation will address the issues through the working group that Councillor Jones has raised. But I imagine you're going to clearly take those points on board. Okay, Councillor
Sorry,
Duff.
I've just got one more. I just think that there should be in the action plan a review of the contractor staffing arrangements for the sale yards, because just on the back of what Councillor Jones has said, and I know there's been complaints about the actual contractors and and the level of maintenance, is it something we could add to review the contractors and staffing arrangements for the sale yards?
Do you want to do that? We can do that if you like. I mean, I think the operations there are quite reasonable. In my investigations on recent, issues, and I updated you on that recently. So, but there's always opportunities to review, existing arrangements and operations. So if you want to put it on the action plan, we can certainly do that.
Thanks, Manager. Councillor Luck, we can come back to that because that's 2 amendments now to the action plan, which we can address once everyone's had a chance to speak. So happy to deal with that then. Any other changes to the action plan that you'd suggest? No? Thank you. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, really appreciate the report and the work the working group's done. I think reading over the SWOT analysis in the report, a lot of your findings are, I believe, true and accurate. So well done. There's a lot of work that's gone into that. I'm very mindful that there was so much work that went into the funding application, and while we weren't successful for the Building Better Regions Fund, I think there are key learnings and insights there that are just really important to ensure they're captured in this action plan, and certainly a CapEx program going forward. I think from my view, those priority works, particularly from a safety point of view, need to be addressed. So it's really comforting to hear that you're doing some work on the CapEx plan and looking at those. I worry we've let them go for so long, and as Councillor Jones has said, this council has been watching this issue for a number of years now. So I do think they need addressing as a priority. So thank you for that. I agree with the working group and the action plan. I think that targeted approach to really unpack some of these issues and the challenges we face, but also the opportunities. Really great to read there, the long list of opportunities you've identified. And I really look forward to the work that you'll do in that space. Through the report, though, probably the one thing that's really standing out for me that I'd like some further feedback from you, because I think for you to be successful in this work, we have to equip you with the right resources to do this properly and to really lean in, because I'm mindful that this council has spent significant funds in trying to do, there are previous works and previous reports and things that I've seen, but the message is consistent. And whilst I'm mindful that pools run at a loss, certainly, libraries don't generate income, and I see this asset very similar kind of context. It has a rich community value. Our community really value this asset. I guess my question to you, what I'm reading through your report consistently, and I am paraphrasing, but if I'm incorrect, please correct me, that this isn't council's core business, that our staff are struggling with the resources that they have to really unpack some of these challenges, and that really to take this forward and to do this properly, you will need some specific advice or support and potentially budget to help this working group progress this action plan appropriately. I read item number 5, review sale yards to expand utilisation for specialty and stud selling facilities. We know that's an opportunity, but I also read in your update that to make fit for alternate uses such as holding centre or clearing facility, that work in itself is outside your remit, and you will need specific resources to help you with that. So I guess my question is, in a roundabout way, is I think the action plan and the report is wonderful. It's a great start, but I am mindful this is a very big project for council, and we do need to take time to do this properly. So from your opinion, GMO May, and certainly Manager Watt, are there more resources from outside our current budget that are needed to do this appropriately? Or can your working group really deliver on this action plan and come back to us? I see that the date is, some of these dates are early 22 or just 22 open. So probably want to understand your time frame and your resourcing to deliver on these things.
Good question, Councillor Shoemaker. And I probably concur with the general gist of what you're saying there, that it is a challenge and it's not our core business. And but having said that, resourcing is always an issue. There's expertise there. We're a multi-purpose organisation. We do everything and everything, and we're not experts at anything. We're master of none, but we obtain the relevant expertise where we need to, and we access that freely, not freely cost-wise, but the availability is always there, and that's how we operate. So our current resourcing is, I guess, limited, but the expertise and knowledge is there. I would make that point. And yes, I guess it's a slightly ambitious action plan in a way, because it is not our core business. It's definitely not a core business, but it's one we take seriously, and we try and set the level of standard accordingly to the needs and requirements of the users. And but sort of to respond, yes, you're generally right. It's a challenge to move forward on that action plan in a really timely manner, because we are distracted by the various other activities that we are responsible for doing, and the organisational review may change that, it may not, but I guess we just work with what we've got, and we have limited budgets, as you identified, and so I think, generally speaking, that's how I would approach this as myself, is just working with what we've got.
Thank you, Manager. I think we'll just move to wrap this up. And certainly the opportunity is there for you, as you'd be aware. The second quarter budget review, any revisions can be brought forward to that. So in accordance with Councillor Shoemaker's concerns, should you require resources for this process, I guess Council would encourage you to bring that forward as part of that second quarter budget revision, if that's the case. Yeah. Okay, that would be the process for that to occur. So, look, any further speakers? Councillor Henson, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, can I just emphasise, in the meeting we had the other day, and Councillor Duff and Councillor Potter, this is a pretty major council asset that we're talking about here, and I would encourage and I would like to see other councillors and managers attend these Coonabarabran Sale Yards working group meetings. If I can take you to page 42 and just quickly, if you look at that page, strength, weaknesses, opportunity and threats, and diagonally cross those over, and you will come up and I'll just quickly, on the strength undercover bull sale facility, go diagonally down, fifth dot point down, competition from other sale yards. We sat and talked about all these dot points with Manager Watt and Councillor Duff the other day. There's many more there, but a lot of them cross over and they're all relevant to one another. I'd encourage that working group to incorporate our other councillors and general managers because of its asset to the council. It's been put for tender, it's been put for sale. This has been going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and there is a clear view that there is segregation between what's needed and wanted and expected of the sale yards to what's being delivered there. And a classic example of that is with our bull sales. We know that societies and breeds won't come to the Coonabarabran Sale Yards because of their condition they're in. That could easily be fixed by some small upgrades and some small improvements and maintenance on those yards. But it's a massive work in progress there, and I'd encourage our other councillors and general managers to take that on board and work to see what we can come up with in a better resolution to where these sale yards have gone in the last 5 years or 10 years, because I think we can all see what's happened to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Okay, so looking to progress this now then, just listening to the committee's comments. So Councillor Henson, Councillor Duff's proposing that the motion that we've got here in front of us be changed to as amended, which Linnell's put there, as you can see. The amendments would include at item 7, Manager, to include by council in consultation with user groups, and perhaps to set the date as December 2021. From what you're saying, that sounds as though it's reasonable. Comfortable with that? And then over the page, item further to that, Councillor Duff, which your second point was,
Sorry, I wanted to add an additional item 10, review contractor staffing arrangements for the sale yards. And I thought May
Okay.
2022.
so reviewing the contract and staffing arrangements. June 2022 would line that up with our next year's budget process. Mr. Sear, that's probably the way to go, I would have thought, yeah. Okay, so if, we'll just, Councillor Henson, are you happy with that, change that motion to as amended with those two amendments, and Councillor Potter as the mover and seconder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Yeah, yes.
Happy with that, Councillor
Yes,
Potter?
Mr. Mayor.
Yep, okay, well, let's go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. On to 8.1, Waste Management Portfolio Report at 45. Welcome, Councillor Froloff.
Thank you. The Waste Compliance Officer position. The state-funded Waste Compliance Officer position ended on the 29th of October 2021. South Burnett Regional Council has extended this position until the 17th of December. However, the officer will primarily work in South Burnett Regional Council local government area, rather than being a shared resource with North Burnett Regional Council and Cherbourg Aboriginal Shire Council as previously. As the grant program has ended, a report will be tabled for December's meeting. The Waste Compliance Officer has continued to conduct proactive and reactive illegal dumping investigations in the region and was successful outcomes achieved through the month of October, including having illegal dumped waste being collected by alleged offenders identified through their investigations. In addition, the Waste Compliance Officer has completed the Illegal Dumping Hotspot Grant Program. This was a very successful program where 4 illegal dumping hotspot sites were identified. The strategies implemented to reduce illegal dumping, the sites were Mergen Waste Facility, Cloyner Waste Facility, Blackbutt Waste Facility and Froloff Road. Gates and signs were installed at Blackbutt Waste Facility to restrict illegal access to the facility. Since these were installed, there has been no reported illegal dumping instances, and illegal access has gone from almost daily to once in the past 2 months. Cloyner Waste Facility. The Illegal Dumping Hotspot Grant Program operated from April to September 2021. As part of this grant, Council identified that Cloyner Waste Facility was a hotspot. During this period, there were 35 investigated illegal dumping occurrences with a total of 68,316 litres of illegally dumped waste identified. In addition to illegal dumping, there have been 5 fires lit between April and September and 2 covert cameras stolen. On the 21st of August, Cloyner State School and Council representatives met at the waste facility. The signs were installed and each student gave a presentation regarding the intent of their signs, which further enforced illegal dumping and waste information. And the Darling Downs and West Downs Regional Waste Management Strategy and Infrastructure Plan. The MOU with the Darling Downs and the South West Queensland Council of Mayors regarding the development of the Regional Waste Management Strategy and Infrastructure Plan has been adopted. Expressions of interest are now being called for elected representatives from all member parties to be part of the steering group and are subject to a separate report in this agenda. I'd like my waste management portfolio to be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Froloff. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson, thank you. Okay, any speakers? Councillor Jones.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to ask Acting Manager Mr. Mike down here, Blackbutt Waste Facility. We've had issues down there. We were hoping to get a report. Just wondering how that's going. It amused me that it's a Blackbutt Waste Facility and yet people can't dump their rubbish down there. They can, but I'll give you an example, and I mentioned this before. Our businesses in Blackbutt are required to now drive to Nanango with a trailer load of cardboard boxes and pay $196 when they get there to dump their rubbish. So this, to me, is not acceptable, and I'm sure this is going to affect other areas across our region, and I think it's wrong. So just wanting to see where we're at with the Blackbutt report, Mike.
Through the Mayor. Look, at the moment, we're just investigating those issues in relation to Blackbutt and other transfer stations. The transfer stations aren't regulated waste dumping facilities, so they can't, they aren't allowed to accept commercial waste under the, in relation to the legislation, environmental legislation. We are looking at some options that may avail businesses in some of these areas where they are close to a transfer station and don't have access to, or close access to a large commercial facility such as Kingaroy.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, as you've heard, I just think this is wrong, and I know this may be coming from the government and all that sort of stuff with the waste levy or whatever they're trying to impose, but for the people in Blackbutt, and I'm sure that other areas of our South Burnett region, it'll probably extend further into other regions as well, but to ask commercial businesses in Blackbutt, when they've got a transfer facility 2k out the road that they can't use, the Blackbutt Bakery, for an example, you can imagine how much paper and cardboard they have to get rid of and dispose, and they were going to other facilities until they woke up what was going on. But anyway, another story, but $196 when we get to the other end. So maybe we could look at recycling being a big issue for this council and the whole of Australia. Maybe we can look towards something, working with Cherbourg, getting cardboard facilities or something put across our transfer stations in regards to recycling, free of charge or something like that. I don't know how we go about this, but I just want to bring it to everyone's attention in the chamber here today that it is an issue, and it's going to hit us very quickly, and it's going to affect the whole region. Okay, so other than the Nango, Kingaroy and Wandai and Mergen, I think are waste facilities, but the rest of the region will be affected, and don't be fooled by those figures. I'm not convinced that once in 2 months, I think I'm driving around and going through Brooklands and Nango roads and all that sort of stuff, and I'm seeing, and it's been highlighted, but I'm really concerned about this, and it's not fair to our commercial businesses. Thank you.
Manager, just in further to Councillor Jones' comments, Wandai is a designated dump area that can take the cardboard, is that correct? Blackbutt, however, is a transfer station. I would have thought that the tonnage in Wandai would be similar to Blackbutt. Blackbutt seems to have certainly, I would have thought, a similar level of commercial activity to Wandai. Is there scope to look to take Blackbutt up onto an equal footing as, for example, the Wandai dump facility, so that we've got consistency? Is that an option under the legislation?
Through the Mayor, look, there is cardboard recycling facilities there. However, businesses are required to pay a fee for cardboard recycling. There are other cardboard recyclers throughout the South Burnett, and there may be some issues if council were to have a nil fee for that sort of service, where other commercial operators charge a fee. So we are looking at the ramifications of any changes to our transfer stations.
So you'll take that on board, and Councillor Jones can expect a report to come back to a future standing committee meeting. Can we have an approximate timeline on that, General Manager?
Yes, through the Mayor. We hope to get back for the next meeting in December and report back on that matter.
Thank you very much, Manager. We look forward to that coming to the December Standing Committee meeting. General Manager, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just a comment. So we can definitely look at the recycling, because that is an issue for those commercial businesses in those as a separate thing. But as a whole, all of our facilities across the region, none of our facilities apart from those 4 manned facilities are able to take commercial waste. So that's the legislation. If we've got to be able to report on commercial and domestic. So that's why all of our transfer stations across the region are signed for domestic only. That is, I suppose, how we are meeting our obligations of not accepting commercial waste at those facilities, because our licence doesn't allow us to accept commercial waste. So they're signed that we don't accept that. So yeah, it is an unfortunate. Or the other option is to man those facilities, which will be an additional cost. So that's the toss-up, and where we look at our strategies across the region, we might have to look at the cost of running all of those facilities, particularly if they were all manned and you had to have a contractor on site.
Yeah, I just would have thought in this specific case that if Wondai has a manned dump, with all due respect to the Wondai community, Councillor Henson, that Blackbutt would have a similar need in terms of the size of the community at Blackbutt, the level of waste that would be generated from the commercial sector, and the community broadly. To me, it seems inconsistent that Wondai's got it, but Blackbutt hasn't. But if that can be considered as part of the report, would welcome that at the next standing committee meeting. Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Shoemaker. Thank you.
I just have a question in terms of that commercial waste and that issue. For Blackbutt, is there, for commercial operators, particularly in retail in the street or like that, is there a commercial like bin collection service similar to what other areas like the Bunya Mountains, for instance?
Through the Mayor, yes, there is a commercial availability for a commercial waste service. The commercial businesses in Blackbutt have the availability of having a wheelie bin service, commercially wheelie bin through council's rating system. Also, there is private contractors who provide commercial waste. So there are commercial waste facilities available in the marketplace.
And just with those, so you can tailor how many bins you need based on the waste that you generate in your business? Is that correct, or do we set that at a standard of 2 bins per commercial residence, for instance? I just want to confirm.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Mayor. Yes, no, the businesses can tailor that to their own needs and requirements. In fact, we've had some inquiries from businesses, and I won't name businesses, but we had inquiry from businesses who are looking at the economics of having a number of wheelie bins, say 10 wheelie bins, as opposed to a skip bin from a commercial operator, and that's their choice to avail themselves of that service.
Fabulous. I know cardboard is a commodity at the moment that Cherbourg Aboriginal Council Material Recycling Facility is marketing very well and actually getting a good return on it. So certainly I think there are opportunities there for commercial businesses if they're able to support with the transport at this point in time. I know that can change, and there are entities like Cleanaway and others in our region who are collecting cardboard and doing some of those services, but it is at a cost. So I guess some of these things do need to be assessed. I understand every individual would be different, their needs would be different, but some businesses, for instance, our local IGA, for instance, have a cardboard arrangement themselves. So yeah, I can see this is not an easy problem to solve, but there are options, and maybe we need to get some of this information about the options in the medium term to businesses like Councillor Jones has mentioned, because I'm very mindful of the cost to transition a site from a waste transfer facility to a much higher scale landfill facility, or like we've discussed, maybe outside council's remit at this point in time. So probably keen to understand some of those other options and support those businesses with that information. Don't know if there is something we can do in that space to support Councillor Jones in Blackbutt.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. We might look to wrap up there, but Councillor Jones we'll just allow Councillor Jones to finish here. But yeah, certainly the recycling is a broader conversation around plastics and glass and cardboard and a whole range of products. So that could be folded into that broader recycling agenda that Council's pursuing. But certainly I think if we can come back as part of that report, consideration of the needs of the Blackbutt community. As a growing and developing commercial space in our region, Blackbutt is becoming a busy town, and we may need to look at council resourcing that dump so that it's at the level of other dumps around the region as something we need to consider as part of the growth of Blackbutt. Councillor Jones, to wrap up. Thank you.
Just quickly through you, Mr Mayor, just in response to some of the comments from Councillor Shoemaker, we have, myself and Mike and staff have worked and alerted the businesses down there of all the options they have, but some businesses still run into the access, safety. We've had JJ Richards go and meet on site and all that sort of stuff, so there is a lot of ongoing issues with businesses and wheelie bins and skip bins and all that, and access and safety. So we have addressed all that as well. So as the Mayor said, keen to see what Manager Mike brings back in the near future. So yeah.
Thank you, Manager. Councillor Fryloff, anything to wrap up? Right of reply? Nothing there. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the vote. Those in favour, Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 8.2 is the Environment and Waste Services update at 48. And the recommendation is that the update be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, second to Councillor Potter. Any speakers? Questions? No? Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 8.3, invitation to nominate a councillor to be part of the steering group for the development of the Darling Downs and South West Regional Waste Management Strategy and Infrastructure Plan at 55. General Manager O'May, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so I just like to start off, we've actually mentioned in here about the steering group. So the Darling Downs and South West Council of Mayor have included ourselves and Lockyer Valley in this initiative. So the Mayor's been included on that committee for the purposes of this regional waste study. In the report, we thought they were asking for an elected member representative to be part of the steering committee, but there is a few separate groups being set up, so that it's actually the project advisory group that they are looking at a nomination for, and they're looking for a councillor to be nominated from each of the councillors across that. So we've got the full MOU now, so we've drilled down into it. So they're looking for a councillor to be on that. The steering group, they have already established it, and it was they had 3 representatives from the core councils, whether it was Toowoomba, Western Downs, Southern Downs, not sure. So they are still looking at an elected representative to be on the project advisory group, whose role is basically just to keep the councillor informed on the progress of that report. So it's that liaison back to reform. The Mayor will sit on the Council of Mayors, obviously, and be a decision maker and get all the reports on this. So it is actually, looking for the elected member to be part of that project advisory group is the right term.
Thank you, General Manager. General Manager, just there in terms of the motion then, to be part of the PAG for the development of the, does the scope of the work need to change there in terms of the development of the plan, of the strategy and plan? Does that need to change?
Oh, no, I think that's fine. I think it's just
can we leave that as is?
Project advisory group, because they are all part of the governance process, which will eventually deliver a strategy. The steering group will be the more hands-on, and the project advisory group is more that body that will be the reporting back and making sure that each individual council is kept up to date on what is happening.
Okay. Thank you, General Manager. Okay, do we have a nomination? Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd actually like to nominate Councillor Fryloff for this. I believe this is already her portfolio, and I think she's quite across this, so I'd like to nominate Councillor Fryloff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Do we have a seconder? Yep, Councillor Henson. Thank you. Okay, so we have the motion there. Speakers? No, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Fryloff. Yep. Councillor Fryloff, did you vote in favour? Okay, that's been carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Councillor Fryloff. Okay, let's move on to 9.1, the Rural Resilience, Parks and Gardens, Property and Facility Management and Indigenous Affairs Portfolio Report. Welcome, Councillor Duff at page 56. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Parks and Gardens, following the well-received rainfall across the region, the crews are busily trying to keep ahead of the growth through our town parks, entrances and exits. This, however, is becoming a struggle, with breakdowns becoming a regular occurrence, leaving minimum plant numbers to achieve the scheduled delivery outcomes. Memorial Park annual gardens have been planted in time for Remembrance Day services, whilst gardens in Anango and Mergen have all undertaken general maintenance. The planter boxes in the Dr. Ellen Kent Hughes forecourt have been rotated for the summer season. Footpath spot cleaning has also been undertaken in Anango, Wandai and Mergen. Planting is continuing along the KTP project, with Alfred Street nearing completion. The installation of recycled water irrigation system is in place, currently manually operated by park staff at this point. The Dingo Pond at Wandai has been cleaned out and minor maintenance undertaken, awaiting pump servicing. Turf has also been laid around the newly installed dump point at Proston. Wandai Cemetery staff hosted 15 Year 9 students from the Brisbane Adventist School who assisted staff in planting 80 plants and trimming trees in the main cemetery garden. The students learnt about plant species, soil preparation and fertilisation during their day visit to the South Burnett. Aerodrome weekly inspections are continuing for both Kingaroy and Wandai. Council hosted a community information session at the Kingaroy Aerodrome on the 4th of November to update users and the community on the proposed feral animal fence boundary. Dams. Bjelke-Petersen Dam has placed in the 2021 Gold List of Australian accommodation in the category of caravan and holiday parks, Queensland's best independently rated accommodation as voted by travellers. Congratulations to Dam managers Heath, Rowena and staff, along with council staff, for their fantastic team effort and dedication by all involved. Bjelke-Petersen Dam welcomed 134 visitors from the Toowoomba Hospital Foundation fundraising rally, staying in cabins and camping sites. Dam managers catered for dinner and breakfast with proceeds benefiting council's kiosk sales. Council supported this function with entertainment on Saturday night by local artist Arthur Nettlefield. Great compliments were received by members of this group, stating that they intend to bring back their families at a later date due to the clean facilities and great customer service. Dam managers have been receiving high interest from other groups and clubs requesting details on potential stays in the future. Managers saw an influx of visitors on the weekend of the Dusty Day Out, with the park almost fully booked. A keynote attraction during this event was a guest from the Sunshine Coast who was transported via helicopter, possibly the first for the park. Bundooma Dam also saw a busy October long weekend with visitors mainly from the western regions. The Sunday of the long weekend saw the main water supply cut by a boat propeller, causing the park to completely run out of water. Trucks were used throughout the night to reinstate the water supply to the park, as there were approximately 770 people on site. A temporary line was then connected the following Friday. Since the original main break, water supply has been interrupted to the park on several occasions, either being completely cut off or experiencing low water pressure or discoloured water. Bundooma Dam also saw an increase in boating accidents during this month. These incidents were well handled by management staff and emergency services. Though being a very hectic month, October has ended with a lot of visitors attending the dam and leaving happy after catching many fish. In the property and facility management, the Kingaroy and South Burnett Aquatic Centre are receiving a high level of requests for learn to swim during Term 4 and block lessons during the start of the Christmas school holidays. Additional classes have been scheduled by the pool manager to provide opportunity for as many young children to learn to swim. This is so important in a rural community that has many dams, rivers, water holes that children can readily access, and in many cases without the supervision of parents or lifeguards. Also, the beach volleyball court at the Kingaroy Pool is open for pool users to utilise. Wandai and Blackbutt pools are open for recreation swimming and school swimming. Mergen swimming pool managers have recently recruited additional lifeguards and aqua aerobic staff and are currently advertising for learn to swim instructors. Tenders are currently advertised for real estate agents, Mergen shop asbestos removal of an ambulance building at the airport, management and operation of Wandai swimming pool, and cleaning of council buildings and depot building in Nanango. Indigenous Affairs. Mayor Otto and I have been working closely with Mayor Elvey and CEO Zala to try to get the message out about the availability of the COVID vaccination in Cherbourg and the opening of the borders on the 17th of December. I have been interviewed on Cherbourg radio station Us Mob, talking about the potential risks of the border opening and the possibility of Cherbourg being locked down if they don't have over 80% of the residents double vaccinated by the 17th of December. My message, supported by Mayor Elvey and CEO Zala, is to let the community know that their lifestyle may change and they may be restricted in their movements if they are not double vaccinated. Queensland Health have organised door-to-door vaccinations in Cherbourg, and the take-up has been very positive. And that concludes my report, and I'd like to move my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. We have a seconder. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Potter. Speakers. Councillor Shoemaker.
Just in terms of, it's great to read that opportunity for our cemetery staff to work with some students from Brisbane in the planting and trimming of trees around the cemetery. I think initiatives like those are so important. And to be honest, I think there are many groups in our community who would be involved in some of those if we had a coordinator who could coordinate those things. My question is, though, why the Brisbane Adventist School, have they made contact with us? And is the same opportunity available for local school students? Because I recognise that there are possibly, parks and gardens staff living within our community, or young people who would love to be involved in a project like this. Certainly recognise we don't have a community capacity officer delivering these things. But yeah, just want to understand how this came about, and are there other schools that are, offered the same opportunity?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. They did reach out to us, and they also reached out to Cherbourg Aboriginal Council. So I actually sent the emails to the CEO, Zala, and to our acting manager, Mark Watt, and yeah, they were able to provide some work at Cherbourg and also the South Bend Regional Council.
No, it's wonderful to read. I do think there is a giant gap there, and I know there are other working groups like the previously there had been work for the dole schemes and things like that. I do think there are enormous opportunities for our council, and we do need to carefully consider in those budget reviews actually resources for community capacity building officers who might be able to coordinate activities like that, because the outcomes are far reaching, way beyond the trees and the plantings themselves. My second question, I've just noticed around the CBD in Kingaroy, and I know it is a challenge because of the rain, which is a wonderful outcome. Thank you for the update today, Councillor Henshin. Just noticed grass on a number of our footpaths around our CBD, and I just wanted to understand who's actually responsible for that. So some of the areas where I've seen it is in front of the Kingaroy Battery Centre, just at the main intersection there on Kingaroy Street, is quite overgrown at the moment. And just over here, just last week around Super Cheap, just here on our main Youngman Street, I just didn't know, is that something that council maintains, or is that something that the actual commercial operators maintain? Because I've noticed it has been a bit of a problem around the CBD these last few weeks. Just trying to understand who's responsible.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, so we do the medium strips and the edges of the footpath, so it probably is council. So yeah, I'm just not sure where we are up with the program, but now would be a perfect time to be running that poison along them. But yeah, we can follow that up.
Yeah, thank you. Just something I've noticed, and a few people have mentioned it to me. So if we can, that'd be great. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, just a quick question to Councillor Duff. Just want to confirm that the Mayor and the councillors of Cherbourg were notified, or you spoke with them before you've done the interview on Us Mob radio station. If you can just confirm that for us.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, they reached out to me. They were actually asked me if I would talk to the RSL clubs and the pubs and see if they could actually ban the, do a localised ban of anyone that wasn't double COVID vaccinated. And yeah, they were saying to me, please spread the word and try and at least, at the very least, put a thread out there, which, yeah, so I was urged by Elvie and CEO Zala.
Okay, Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just noticed, Councillor Duff, in your report, you've noted that Bundooma Dam also saw an increase in boating accidents during this month. Can I just bring it to Council's attention and managers' attention, and I'm sure our managers of the parks, but a lot of the incidents that have happened out there have been because of low water levels, like what's coming out of the water now with old dead trees and logs and rocks and things because of the water levels being so low in Bundooma and Majelki-Peterson has been very detrimental to boating and recreational events out there over the last couple of months because of no overland flow for the past few years. That being said, can I also bring it to our managers of those parks, and I'm sure they are, and our managers, that with this recent rainfall, there is going to be an enormous amount of debris if and when it gets to those dams. So not only is it low water levels in those dams creating some fairly hazardous risks in them, but if we do continue to get overland flow, just in what I've noted and what's going to end up down there, there's going to be an enormous amount of debris. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henshin. Okay, if there's no further speakers, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Item 9.2 is the Parks and Gardens update. It's recommended that it be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Froloff. Speakers, questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. Just in relation to some of these projects, so I understand we've got the LRCI and Works for Queensland workshop this afternoon. So, and you had mentioned in previous reports it's sort of been marked as, you know, to be scoped or confirmed. So I see some of these have moved into scoping and consultation, and I know we haven't yet had that workshop embedded down the actual budget. So I just wanted a bit of an update in relation to where some of those things are, because some of these consultations I'm certainly not aware of. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Good question. So the projects listed there, you can see on page 59, were adopted as part of the council budget deliberations, Mr. CEO. And I do believe at a meeting recently, I recollect that we did give you direction to proceed with, to give staff the direction to proceed with those projects, knowing that 30 June 22 is coming on us very quickly, and the staff needed to get started on those projects.
Correct. The ones, there are a couple in there that are, and I'll stand corrected, are in the second half of the year. So as Manager White was just going to jump in as well, but yes, the ones definitely in this financial year for completion by 30 June are being progressed.
Thank you. Did you have anything further to add, Manager?
Yes, so you're right. It's how do we answer this, I suppose? The scoping and consultation is only on the ones we're certain about, and as the CEO says, for example, the dog park, I haven't got my notes in front of me, but I think it's next year anyway, so that probably shouldn't be there, so that's probably correct there. But the rest of them, I guess when you say, and did you have any specific ones? Because there's only a number there, so I'll just quickly advise you if that suits. The QE2 Park is consultations underway, so we're getting ready to, we're doing early consultation, and that will inform a pre-design, and there's a process behind that. The Mergen Dog Park, yes, that's next year. Railway Park is, I guess you could say, under consultation, but we haven't really progressed that one. I would say it's early consultation at this stage, so that's the update on that one. With the Kingaroy Parks, I would probably rely on today's session to confirm some details on that one. So, you know, yes, it's scoping and consultation, but it's really pending today's outcome. Regional Parks Banarkin, again, that one's, there will be some clarity provided from today, I think, which will assist us in progressing that. So we haven't wasted time and progressed that to a point where it's going to have to be reversed or changed. And the public conveniences, again, I would again rely on today's session to sort of provide clarity on those, and I think that will put us in a really good, firm position as to where we're going. That helps?
Yes, it does. By no means was I meaning to be tricky, just trying to understand the work that's going on, because I know many of these projects are multifaceted. I'm mindful the budget was quite some time ago and that things shift and change, and certainly the changes in material costs and things will have an impact on us as well, and we haven't yet had that workshop. My other thing is also just in relation to this report, just noting the different funding streams, and it's great to see that these are highlighted as Works for Queensland and CapEx. Is there a possibility to have sort of a running column in terms of the budget allocated and what's been expended or what stage the project is in? Some of these things are quite open, and I understand there are so many projects, and by no means am I trying to be tricky. I just really want to keep a good solid understanding, because so many things change so quickly as to how we're tracking, you know, some of these things. Also, just like to, that's my feedback, acknowledge the work that happened with the aerodrome perimeter fence. Very impressed with the maps and the community consultation that happened around that, and the real effort our team had made to meet the needs of stakeholders in our region and really listen to their feedback and incorporate it in the plan. I was lucky enough to go to a session the other day and certainly met a number of people from the gliding club who live outside our region and are active participants volunteering their time at that aerodrome. So just really want to thank you and your team for the work you've done on that perimeter fencing. I know that will have an enormous impact when that's finally finished and completed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Schumacher. General Manager Jarvis, I'd imagine that the budget in relation to the CapEx progress comes forward on the quarterly budget review reports anyway that we get in council. That's correct, is it not? Every 3 months we get that report? Sorry, Councillor.
By all means, it does come through Mayor Otto, and there's quite an extensive report that comes through. It's very tiny little print, and it's hard to track because there's the committed, the spending, and sometimes that spans over different years and programs go into works in progress. So I guess what I'm saying is it would be great to have some sort of traffic light system or something that was just easier to keep a check on. Certainly I read that report very carefully. Thank you, Mayor Otto.
Yep, that's good, thank you. All right, well, I'm just conscious of not making too much work for our staff to have to do this every month. So if we get those quarterly budget reviews, that is our process. General Manager, can you perhaps liaise with Councillor Shoemaker in relation to how we can look to improve that if there's scope to do so? Happy to leave it at that?
Yes,
Thank you.
happy to do that
Okay.
for you, Mr Mayor. And we have been actually looking at the reporting to try to simplify it and to give the council as much information and make it easier to read. So it is a work in progress and we are actually reviewing it as we speak.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, General Manager. Much appreciated. Okay, Councillor Duff.
Yes, Mr Mayor, just noting that the Badooma Dam figures are down from 5,278 to 4,267, and I've had complaints about the access down to the actual water's edge, and that's what's causing people to be turned off by going to Badooma Dam. And I was just wondering what's happening with the repairs to the access roads.
Councillor Duff, thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, we're getting quotes to improve that lower area. So we were concerned about that. So we have closed the top boat ramp temporarily, but the other area will get some quotes to rectify those ruts and the drainage issues so people can access the water more readily, because obviously that's an attraction to that dam.
Through you, Mr Mayor, is that possible to get that done before Christmas, like to get done ASAP, because it is a big deterrent? I think we're going to lose a fair few trade over Christmas.
Yeah, I guess we'll leave that with you, General Manager, and Manager, if we could. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any further speakers? Otherwise, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour?
Mr Mayor, sorry.
Oh, sorry, did you want to clarify?
I was only just going to make a comment. As you know, there's a lot of precipitation in the region at the moment, which is terrific. I just wanted to say in relation to the report that we're really trying to focus on mowing and mower, I guess, activity and the status of those mowers and where they're up to in terms of, availability and breakdowns and time to repair them. So we've really spent some time, and I may report back to you on that on a regular basis, but that's our focus. Because it's raining a lot earlier than it did last year. So we're going to try and be on the front foot and be right in front of the approach to mowing and not just go, oh, it's broken down, heck, what do we do? So I would also say that right now, compared to the same time last year, we're worse off. Okay, so we're not as well equipped now as we were same time last year. So there's reasons for that, and it's just a set of circumstances with repairs to mowers and availability of new purchases and things like that. So we really need to focus and just remain vigilant with that. And I just wanted to make that point that, we will be monitoring that whole situation. And it's nobody's fault. It's just circumstances, and we're better off with staff. We've got a full contingent of staff, but our mower fleet is the same mower fleet we had this time 12 months ago, and we've had issues in, delays in purchasing and various things like that. So we need to just keep an eye on it, and you just need to be aware of it.
Thank you, Manager. Okay, let's go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 9.2 is the Parks and Gardens update. That's what we've just done. Oh, sorry. Goodness, I'm getting lost. Thanks, Linnell. 9.3, Properties Operational Update at 63. Recommendation is that it be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Jones, second to Councillor Potter. Speakers? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, staff, for bringing that forward. Okay, I'm going to move now that we adjourn for morning tea and resume at 10:45 a.m. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson, thank you. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Can we all be back here at 10:45 a.m. sharp? That would be much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. I now move that we reopen the meeting at 10:50 a.m. Do we have a seconder? Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Henson. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. Councillor Duff.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion that we elevate 9.11 and 9.12 to be discussed now, because we have Montreal Hall people have come to hear the debate. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker, thank you. Procedural motion, those in favour? Carried unanimously? Yep, okay, thank you. Right, well, we'll now move on to 9.11, resolution of tenure for community halls held in trust by council at 95. Thank you, General Manager and Manager.
Actually, I might just leave Manager Peterson handle these two. She's done the reports.
Is this the first one? Corner first. Through you, Mr Mayor, just confirming what this report is about. We have prepared a detailed report for council to consider. This is in regards to the future of Coiner and Tingura Hall. Looking at, sorry, I just need to look at the screen. Sorry. Just confirming the future tenure of these halls and how we're going to address that. So looking at the trust documents, council's actually holding these two halls, Tingura and Coiner Hall, in trust. So we're responsible at the moment for looking after these facilities, but it's not clear in these very old documents just what is the detail of that responsibility. So it's very hard for council and the community to determine who's responsible for the ongoing maintenance, capital works and day-to-day operation of the hall. So to resolve that, we really need to go through a process where we go to the community, we do some community consultation around the future tenure ownership and the preferred management options, and then we would prepare our legal and get some legal advice and prepare to actually do an application to the Supreme Court to actually determine and make a ruling on the tenure. So that way the Coiner Hall Committee would understand their future responsibilities, and so would council. It would also allow us to address Tingura Hall, where we don't actually have a hall committee, so we could actually go to them and talk to the wider community about what we're going to try to do to resolve the tenure at Tingura. And just a reminder, the Tingura Hall is that one that's a little bit more complicated because it's a hall over 2 parcels of land. So it's a little bit more complicated, and that's why we really need to go through this process as well for Tingura. So the report that we're presenting here today, in this case, it's just for looking at the future management and ownership options for Tingura and Coiner Hall, recommending to council that we undertake some community consultation with the hall committees and the wider community to determine the options of the preferred management and ownership.
Thank you very much, Manager. And just in the report, for clarification, the cost of the legal advice is expected to be around $6,000 approximately, plus GST, give or take, and approximately $20,000 to provide a ruling on tenure and management arrangements. In other words, to prepare the documents for the court would be approximately 20,000 on top of the 6,000. So just to clarify that for the committee. Okay, so just further to what Manager has shared, the recommendation is that the committee recommend to Council that South Bennett Regional Council consider the future management and ownership of the Tingura and Cloyna halls by undertaking consultation with hall committees and the community to determine opportunities in preferred management and ownership options, seek legal advice and progress with preferred management of tenure options, and if required, make application to the Supreme Court of Queensland to provide a ruling on tenure or management arrangements. Do we have a mover? Yep, Councillor Duff, second to Councillor Potter. Thank you. Speakers? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, really agree with this approach. Just a question. So I note on page 97, it says that, you know, the Cloyna Hall is actually in pretty good condition and that there will be, you know, it would be advantageous to have the actual tenure determined. And there'll be extensive consultation with the Cloyna Hall Committee before making any changes to the tenure arrangement. So I just wanted to understand, have there been any conversations yet, or we're waiting for this actual resolution to start that conversation with the Cloyna Hall Committee?
Most definitely. We want to ensure that we've got council on side and, agreeing to this, that we would go out and start our initial consultation. It could take some months for us to really work through the consultation with the Cloyna Hall Committee because, yes, they're not aware of these sorts of legal situations. You know, there is no lease agreement and they probably don't see that as a big issue. But yeah, we certainly will need to take some months of going through and consulting with the Cloyna Hall Committee and even probably the wider community of Cloyna as well, just so there's an understanding of what the options are, because going forward, you know, those options may have a cost to the community, to a hall committee, to council, all depending on what their preferred option is. So I think it's important that the community, the wider community, not just Cloyna Hall Committee, have an understanding of that. So yeah, we'll have some information sessions, we'll be attending meetings. So that's the start. But as I said, it could take some time. And then Tingura Hall, well, there is no hall committee, so it's very much about meeting with the Tingura community. Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly I recognise there are different challenges for each hall. And just, I can see too, in terms of safeguarding, like if Cloyna has got an active committee, which clearly it does, you know, in terms of safeguarding that hall for the future. So tenure actually allows, I just want to understand in terms of insurance and these sorts of things, like who owns the hall and why tenure would be so important in terms of any future works that might be required, or if anything, God forbid, happened to the hall, what the future of that land and those sorts of things would be. I'm just trying to understand, you know, it's significant spend, but on the flip side, for me, it really details council's role and the role of others in this.
Yeah, sure. So holding it in trust, we're holding it in trust for the hall community and the wider community. Because the document is so old, it's not really clearly describing the responsibilities. So just bringing up the matter of insurance, for example, it's not clear on who's responsible for the insurance of the hall. By sorting out the tenure, we'll be able to sort things out like that. Formally though, previously, council has always insured the asset because we're holding it in trust. So in good faith, we're trying to do the right thing by the community and we continue to insure the hall. Really, council's done the right thing by trying to continue to maintain the hall as well. So we've done capital maintenance out there, and equally that the hall committee out there has done, maintenance and tried to fundraise and put money back into the hall. So everyone's trying to do the right thing, but we don't actually have that legal document that describes exactly who's responsible. And that's what we need to bed down going forward for the future.
Yeah, thank you for the update. Fully supportive of this approach and look forward to what comes back from that process. Thank you.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I support this. I think we don't really have an option because we've reached a situation where we're not really sure of the ownership and that way and the responsibility. So I think we need to. And the Cloyna Hall Committee are very active and they run a services dinner every year and make a lot of money to support the hall. So yeah, very happy to support this recommendation.
Right, no further speakers, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. 9.12, Mondial Hall, future plans for maintenance and tenure arrangements. That's at 99. Manager, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going through this report. So Mondial Hall we have dealt with a little bit differently. We've also provided some information in there to update council on, I suppose, some of the maintenance and improvements that need to occur at Mondial Hall. It's probably in desperate need of some attention to address some of those issues. We have had that insurance claim put in as well to try to get some insurance cover for the roof damage that occurred in a storm event last year. And those discussions are still occurring with the insurer at the moment, so hoping to finalise that soon. But this report, we certainly wanted to talk to council about the same sort of process that we would like to go out to the community and talk to the Mondial Hall community about the tenure arrangements going forward for Mondial, and look at preparing a report at a similar time and presenting that to the Supreme Court at the same time that we do Tingora and Coiner, and going down that process of ensuring that we've actually agreed to the tenure options for the halls. So this report, we have highlighted in the report in the financial implications. We did provide a little bit more information in this report just in regards to the upgrades that we can see that need to occur in the future for Mondial. And that's because we're in this constant conversation around the insurance. We are aware that this hall is in a desperate need of re-roofing and re-stumping, so that's there. I'm unable to share the figures of estimates in there because I'm mindful that in the future you may go out for quotations and tenders, and we don't want to be suggesting what those prices are heading into that sort of arrangement, and so contractors have the heads up of what sort of money council is looking at for those repairs. So, but very much there is a fair bit of information in that report around what needs to happen at Mondial Hall. I'm open for questions. We've attached some photographs of the roof and the stumps. You'll see there. So we're quite fortunate, I think, to get an insurance claim approved. We're just going backwards and forwards on the nitty-gritties of the roofing, because the insurer is certainly just interested in only replacing roof sheeting and not looking at any of the additional repairs that needs to occur to the timber structure in that roof. So going forward, if you ever want to put a ceiling into the building, if you want to put insulation into the roof of that building going forward, the way that the design is and the way the quotations come back from the insurer is they're not interested in making those improvements to the timber structure of the hall. So you've got limitations going forward. So the insurer only provides a price on the actual damage to the sheeting, and they go through their own quotations to contractors, not necessarily here in the region, outside the region, and they also use certifiers outside the region. So the issue that we've been having is getting the insurer to understand what we believe that the building need to be brought back to get it certified to meet our requirements here in the South Burnett with the amount of storms and weather conditions that we're having. We have enough evidence within our own certifier here in council and other certifiers that we are using. We've got enough evidence to suggest that there probably do need to be some additional supports put in that roof, but that's something that the insurer does not have to take into consideration. So, hopefully that provides some more information about this hall, but the objective here is for us certainly to go out and talk to the hall committee about future use, asset management and the tender arrangements.
Thank you, Manager. And just to clarify, that should, subject to community consultation, that the $6,000 for legal fees and the $20,000 approximately for putting a case to the Supreme Court would encompass all 3 halls.
That's correct, yes, that's
So all
that's
3 would
right,
be
Mr.
covered by
Mayor.
that, yeah.
Yep.
And in there that at this stage, very much an estimate, as you said, but the stumps, the upgrades to the roof structure and the replacement of the roof sheeting expected at about 450,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, we've got that there. Okay. All right. Councillor Duff. Sorry. Yep. Proceed.
So I wanted to move an alternate to the officer's recommendation,
Yes. Proceed.
that the committee recommends to council that council proceed to implement the proposal put forward by the Modular Hall Committee dated the 5th of November 2021 with regards to future tenure arrangements and maintenance of the hall.
Now, councillor, we have some flexibility with standing committee, standing orders. I think before we put that to the committee to consider, we need to know what that proposal constitutes before we seek a seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Modular Hall Committee have been...
Well, actually, sorry to interrupt, point of order, just with a matter like this, we've just been advised that there is commercial information in this report that could have tender implications for us later down the track. So I would like to move a procedural motion that we actually go into closed session to discuss some of these things from a commercial point of view.
Yeah, look, we just need to be careful there in terms of the Section 254 regulation, councillor. That would need to be identified as to which section of the regulation you'd be proposing to put that under. Is there commercial... Well, we need to know what the proposal is and whether that would be something that would give rise to the application of Section 254J. Mr. CEO.
Oh, sorry, my microphone. We don't have it, Mayor. It was circulated to councillors. We did try to chase it down yesterday. We had a call from Councillor Duff in the morning. My executive assistant returned the calls because I was otherwise tied up, but I'm yet to be able to find a copy of the email that came into the organisation. I believe from discussions this morning it went to councillors, but yeah, we don't have a copy.
Yeah, certainly. I received a copy. I was CC'd in on it, and I forwarded it on to the councillors yesterday, the email. So you haven't seen that? Okay. So you're unable to give us guidance in terms of the document. Councillor, Mr. CEO, can we see the document so that we can make an assessment on that?
There's probably a couple of other points in this is to before, Councillor, if I may jump in before, and certainly I've got it noted. There would need to be the consultation, if I can speak broadly on both topics, Mayor, if allowed that flexibility. I suppose the proposal was put up for the consultation with regard to the broader community because it's from recollection and also, and I was very happy to stand corrected here. There was a conversation, and it's been in this chamber while I've been here, that the Heisville Hall was shut, and part of the debate that's gone over some period of time is that Heisville Mondial Hall is an important asset to the whole of community. So the consultation, I suppose, putting forward is for the broader community of that area, not just a single... Now, again, I'm not critical or saying that any proposal has been put forward, but whatever proposal the council would want to put forward would want to probably encompass the broader community of Heisville as well, I would think, and maybe that's already been done. Again, I don't know. So, and also with this one, given it will be such a... well, it's with any departure from the officer's recommendation, we would need a list of reasons as to why council would be adopting something other than the recommendation. given that we are seeking legal advice on this as to where we go forward. And it's, again, not that it's about, I'm not saying it's a bad idea nor am I arguing against it, but we may be doing something that may turn out to be legally not possible. It may have other ramifications to it. And so there would probably need to be a degree of consideration by council before it pursued a single option. Hence the recommendation's been written up to consult, get legal advice, come back, pick an option.
Mr. CEO. Councillor, in terms of the point of order, I think to address this, I've seen the proposal and I know there is reference to some dollar amounts in there. Could I suggest that they don't be disclosed at this stage for commercial reasons, commercial confidence reasons, but that the broad nature of the proposal could be shared without the dollar amounts and without reference to any suppliers, but I don't think that's in the proposal. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I think my reading of the regulation 254J is such that where there's no reference to a supplier as such, there is no reference to any dollar amounts that could give rise to anything that could be seen as commercial in confidence, that there would be no scope under section 254J then to not deal with it in an open meeting.
Well, under section G, negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would likely to prejudice the interests of the local government, I actually beg to differ, and to be honest, I would struggle to actually make a decision on Councillor Duff's motion without fully understanding some of the costs and implications for our council. So I am proposing that we do discuss with the figures that have been quoted in a confidential section, so that councillors, because as per our standing orders, we asked to have 7 days notice of any notices of motion, and I've not received a report that actually details any of these costs with any clear information that I could actually table or discuss. So I'm proposing we go to confidential section as per section 254J of the Local Government Regulation, subsection G, negotiations relating to a commercial matter.
Okay. In that case, Councillor, I think we'll allow it to be resolved by the committee. Mr. CEO would be the appropriate mechanism. So do we have a seconder for that procedural motion? Councillor Jones. Okay. Let's go to the vote on this. Those in favour? Okay. We've got Councillor Jones, Councillor Potter, Councillor Henson, Froloff and Shoemaker in favour. Those against? Councillor Duff and Otto. Okay, the procedural motion has been carried, and we will now therefore go close the meeting.
Okay, we have just come back out of confidential, and we have just dealt with item 9.12, the Mondule Hall future plans for maintenance and tenure arrangements. We currently have a committee recommendation moved by Councillor Duff that the committee recommends to council that council proceed to implement the proposal put forward by the Mondule Hall Committee dated the 5th of November 2021 with regards to future tenure arrangements and maintenance of the hall.
So, through Deputy Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment that council investigate the proposal put forward by the Mondule Hall Committee. Just change proceed to implement to investigate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So the new recommendation is that the committee recommends to council that council investigate the proposal put forward by the Mondule Hall Committee dated the 5th of November 2021 with regards to future tenure arrangements and maintenance of the hall. So that's been moved by Councillor Duff. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker. All those in favour? Councillor Duff, Potter, Shoemaker and Jones. Against? Councillor Henson, Councillor Froloff. No, you're right. So we now go back to the officer's recommendation that the committee recommend to council, 1, consult with the community to determine future use, asset management and tenure arrangements for Mondule Hall, and 2, seek legal advice to finalise the preferred tenure arrangements, which may include making application to the Supreme Court of Queensland to provide a ruling. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Froloff. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay. We now revert back to the initial running of the agenda. I think we go back to 9.4. So Lions Park signage for the Big Peanut. The officer's recommendation that the committee recommends to council, 1, that the South Burnett Regional Council approve the proposed signage on sides 1 and 2 of the plinths in Lions Park, depicting 2 major sponsors and the inclusion of community nut funders on the rear surface, and 2, that council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise arrangements for an official opening with the plaque to be installed pursuant to Queensland Government funding guidelines. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Shoemaker. Questions, comments, councillors? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I just certainly want to acknowledge the work that's gone into this project. I think the collaboration between council and the community has been great. It's fabulous to see. Certainly, I know my Facebook page has been flooded with images of locals and visitors getting their photo taken with the Big Peanut, which is really exciting. And I just think, yeah, it's a wonderful demonstration of what can happen when we work together. So certainly well done to that committee who have worked very hard to raise the funds, and thank you to the council team who have worked very hard to, I guess, redesign and develop that park, which really does complement the Big Peanut and the structure. So well done. So pleasing to see so much community pride around that project spread out across our region. So congratulations to everyone involved.
Okay, thank you. So we have Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. With regards to this signage, and Councillor Shoemaker's right, they've done an amazing job. But with regards to other signage in the park, when I first was discussing this with Parks and Gardens, I was informed that there was going to be a Lions sign at the front in the corner of the park. And I'm just wondering to show that it's actually Lions Park, because at the moment we all know it's Lions Park, but the community doesn't know that. I mean, and all the visitors don't know that. And I was told there's going to be a little garden at the front with the signage with the Lions written in the garden. So I'm just wondering where that is at and if that is still happening, and if not, why not?
I'm not entirely sure, Councillor Potter, but I think that's coming through Lions. So, no? No, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Take that on notice, Mr. Watt. Okay, so that's a question on notice. We're happy with that, Councillor Potter? Okay, so the recommendation we have there, moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that the committee recommends to council that the South Burnett Regional Council approve the proposed signage on sides 1 and 2 of the plinths in Lions Park, depicting 2 major sponsors and the inclusion of community nut funders on the rear surface, and 2, that the council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to finalise arrangements for an official opening with the plaque to be installed pursuant to Queensland Government funding guidelines. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.5, update of the public amenity cleaning contracts. Officer's recommendation that the report be received and noted. At the ordinary meeting on Wednesday the 25th August, Council resolved to seek tenders for cleaning of public amenities for the localities of Kingaroy, Nanango, Mergen, Blackbutt, Banarkin and Wandai. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, second to Councillor Henson. Comments, questions, councillors? Pretty straightforward there in the report. It's just for information. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.6, a day at the dam update. The officer's recommendation that the report be received and noted. At the ordinary meeting on Wednesday the 22nd of September, Council resolved to provide in-principle support in investigating touring artists to BP Dam for a day at the dam music concert. Council CEO was given delegated authority to provide approval and finalise arrangements. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, second to Councillor Froloff. Questions, comments, any staff, senior staff or anything? Comment, update, all good? Okay, go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.7, update the street cleaner demonstration. The officer's recommendation, option 1, that the report be received and noted. Option 2, that the committee recommends to council that 1, the purchase and or hire of a street cleaner and ecovac be referred to the 22-23 budget deliberations, and 2, the CBD working group be requested to establish service standards incorporating a street sweeper and ecovac for operations throughout the region, including preparation of a business plan. Do you have a mover? Councillor Duff?
I'd like to move option 2, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
So you're putting forward option 2, that the committee recommends to council that the purchase and or hire of street cleaner and ecovac be referred to the 22-23 budget, and 2, the CBD working group be requested to establish service standards incorporating a street sweeper and ecovac for operations throughout the region, including preparation of a business plan. Councillor Duff moved that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Potter. Comments, councillors? Councillor Potter?
Yeah, I'm just not undersure. Councillor Duff said she only wanted to move number 2. Was that option 2? It's not really an option. Oh, okay, sorry. My fault, sorry.
Okay, any other councillors? Councillor Henson? Yeah?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just quickly on that, and this is irrelevant to this, but at that same day there was a demonstration by electric mower, and I'd just like it noted at the same time that hopefully this comes back to council, because that demonstration that was done not only by those 2 machines, but they also brought an electric mower up that day, which we took to the park. I thought it was sensational, and I hope to see that back on the council agenda at a future date, because I think it's a great thing for our parks and garden staff. Thank you.
Do you wish to add anything to that recommendation of Councillor Duff's at the committee, that option 2? Do you want to add that with the approval? Councillor or Mark Watt? I can't see. There you go.
Sorry. Not at those prices currently with the electric mowers. They're a great device, but I think with considering those devices and the benefits of them, and there are benefits, that we need to take a broader plant and fleet strategy towards, electric vehicles and, move into it in that space, because they're double the price of a normal mower. And I'm just not sure. As manager, I'd be recommending that we buy one of those when we get 2 of the other ones. So I guess it's just food for thought from my perspective.
Councillor
Yeah,
Henson,
thank you, Manager Watt, and take that on board. But I think, as Councillor Shoemaker has alluded to in previous council meetings, that this council could perhaps be seen to be working in the environmentally friendly space. And when you see these machines work, and they may be perhaps around double the price, and I think they'll come back in time. I think they could be a great asset to a council in some shape or form when we talk maintenance, and as this council's seen to be moving forward with environmental issues and go green, I think they're certainly something that we should look at, and I'd love to see it come back to council at a later date. Perhaps if I could move that dot point 3 on that, move the motion to include that further investigations be brought to council in relation to electric operated mowers, and the costings and the operationals be investigated as well.
So just work with Linnell, councillor, and just...
Oh, sorry.
Councillor, because we're street sweepers and electric mower, I've actually noted it as a request to bring back a future report in any which case. But yeah, if we could just do that one as him, because these are electric mowers versus street sweepers. So just do him as 2 separate, if you don't mind, please. So yeah, as soon as you deal with this one, then knock that one over.
Okay, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. A couple of questions. So really impressed with the Litter-Vac and pavement scrubber, and certainly the demonstration that day. Thank you. In terms of our current cleaning operations, just want to understand, we did in the budget discussions talk about the trailer and additional pressure cleaners and things for staff to do current cleaning of the CBDs, and my concern is some of those operational costs might actually outweigh the cost of purchasing this machine sooner. So I just want to understand what work might have been done in the background to understand that, because when we had that demonstration, it was my understanding it takes up to 2 weeks for 3 people to currently pressure clean Mergen CBD footpaths. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And if each of those staff members are costed at an estimated cost of about $50 an hour with their on costs and things included, based on our current service standards, those costs are actually quite high. And I want to understand whether we've done that comparison to determine what I saw this machine was capable of doing in such a shorter period of time. I'm actually thinking, is it worth bringing forward the procurement of this machine? And I understand that would be a budget discussion, but in many ways, my concerns are that our operational costs currently might be on par with actually procuring this machine sooner. Just, I guess, want to understand that from you, Manager Watt, because I recognise the work you've done in this space.
Through you, Mr Mayor, there won't be any impact to current costs because we're not sort of cleaning the streets with gurneys and other machines. We did do a clean of Mergen because it got to a stage where it was quite messy, but it's being cleaned and resealed. So that's a separate cost that's already budgeted for. Bless you. In relation to the other part you're saying with other costs, there are no costs because we've only budgeted to do a 1 clean per town through a contractor. So most of the other time our cleaning staff or our parks and garden staff just tidy the streets and inspect them and do those. So they're just incorporated in their current day-to-day costs. So no, the answer is no. There's no loss or cost benefit in bringing it forward, in my view. Yeah, and particularly with Kingaroy being, constructed, there's not a high need to do anything there either. So, and the Mergen project. So they're the two, those two impacts on the overall scheme of things.
So I just want to confirm my understanding of what you've said. So we've just only done that 1 clean based on how grotty the street was to bring it up to standard. So there'll be no further pressure cleaning through our CBDs until the end of this financial year. Is that what you're committing to here?
I'd have to refer to infrastructure because they run that project.
Other than for the...
No.
So the ceiling project will be a separate project
Yes.
on its own.
Yep.
But in terms of our day-to-day operational expenses, we're not committing to any further pressure cleaning through our CBDs until the new financial year.
That's for parks and gardens, but infrastructure may have a program in foot for their annual. There was one budgeted program to do CBD cleaning in any case this year, and I would refer to an infrastructure to know where that's up to because I'm not. That's what the working group were discussing actually. So,
Councillor, and Deputy Mayor through you, that does relate to those major once a year. We budgeted once a year, just once. And we would try and link, if we've got to reseal it, we'd obviously clean it and seal it together. I could clean it and wait in a couple of months till it's dirty. So it'd be the daily operations undertaken by Mark's group, where they might have to clean a spill or something. They might use just more gear to do that. Then the once a year is what we budgeted. So you're correct in your assumption.
So my final question, so just in relation to that, if we refer this to the 22-23 budget, will there be work happening, because I'm mindful of how much logistics and supply chains have been disrupted with COVID across the board. Has there been work undertaken, or will there be work undertaken if we actually, allocate this to our 22-23 budget, so that when we're ready, that machine, we're actually ready to purchase? Because I guess my concern is that lag in time frame. I've noticed already on Kingaroy's new streets that have not yet been sealed or maintained, how grotty they are. So I guess I'm just mindful of the impact in this delay and what work might be happening to actually make sure that if this is something we're nominating here for our 22-23 budget, I guess until that's brought down, you can't do anything, but just want to make sure we're ready to hit the ground running. It's mindful of how much of an impact our changes here to the Kingaroy CBD will certainly have.
in response, I think we would probably, in my opinion, we would get going on that pretty much straight away, and by the time the budget comes down in June next year, we would have the business case and we would have the information, and all the recommendations would be in conjunction with infrastructure. We would have all that information collated through the whole budget process as part of that. So it's not like we're going to wait for June 30 next year and go, oh, let's start looking at a street, and it should say street cleaner, I'm sorry to say, in that resolution, not street sweeper. So that's just a terminology error. Yeah, street cleaner. That's the little device that we saw. The street sweeper is the street, on street. So yes, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that we would get going on that. And I mean, there's a lot of work to do with everything else, but that's the intent.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Fully support this recommendation at this point in time, but do recognise with KTP finalised in time for Bacon Fest August 22 that we would be needing this piece of equipment quite early in the piece.
Thank you. So Councillor Duff has moved and Councillor Potter seconded that the committee recommend to council that 1, the purchase and or hire of a street cleaner and ecovac be referred to the 22-23 budget deliberations, and 2, the CBD working group be requested to establish service standards incorporating a street cleaner and ecovac for operations throughout the region, including preparation of a business plan. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.8. Wonderful Magpie relocation update report. Now, this will be a officer's recommendation that the report be received and noted. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Shoemaker. Questions, comments, councillors? Plenty could be said, but we'll move on to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.9, Blackbutt Flying Fox Roost Modification Works Update Report. The officer's recommendation that the report be received and noted for information. So we have a mover. Councillor Henson, second to Councillor Froloff. Comments, questions, Councillor Duff?
I just want to know what we're doing now currently with the situation with them near the daycare centre.
I would say that we're monitoring that situation based on any complaints that we are getting, which I'm not aware of any complaints actually in that space. So we are monitoring, and I know the Flying Foxes have moved locations, but I just couldn't say where they are right now. But I've heard no negative feedback in that space, and happy to provide further information as I become aware of it. But I'm comfortable with where things sit. And there are issues bubbling along in some sections down there with community members and whatnot, but otherwise it seems reasonably, static at the moment.
Thank you.
Yes, I was just reading through the report, so page 87 and 88 refer to some of those perhaps community conflicts you're talking about, Manager Watt. It says that the bats are now congregating around the Guppies Daycare Centre in Sutton Street, and the remaining bats have pushed into trees at the northern end of the roost that they did not originally roost in. I just wanted to understand, because then looking here, it talks about the budget and resource blowout quite extensive there. And I guess I just wanted to understand whether there was any further action being taken, or at this point in time, we're just leaving those bats that have relocated. If I'm hearing what you're saying, we're just leaving the issue. But yeah, okay. Has there been further conversations with the community? And is I'm just mindful these things can bubble away, as you say, and then become bigger issues. So is there anything that council needs to be aware of with this issue and this current report, or need for additional resources or support, or are we just happy to leave it as it is, I guess is my question.
Subject to council's own experience and contact with the community, it's just as it is right now. The officer NRM coordinator has been quite diligent in frequenting that location and monitoring things and liaising with relevant state government officers and the consultant. So we have a very close coverage of the situation, but no further action and no further resources are necessary other than that, and we will just monitor and continue that way.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Councillor Henson, my apologies, I slipped past. Do you want to move a motion to the... Haven't we done the magpies yet? Oh, yeah, and we vote on that? Sorry, my apologies. Okay, so we have the recommendation there for 9.9 Blackbutt Flying Fox Roost Modification Works Update Report. Moved by Councillor Henson, second by Councillor Froloff, that the report be received and noted for information. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Councillor Henson, going back to your electric mower, do you want to put a motion or a request there? There we go. A report be brought back to the Future Community Standing Committee in relation to electric mowers, including costings. You want to?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Yes, I would. And as stated there, that a report be bring back to a future standing committee in relation to electric motors, including costings and any other relevant costs that may be associated with that and comparisons. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, so we've got Councillor Henson resolution there. The committee recommends to council that a report be brought back to Future Community Standing Committee in relation to electric mowers, including costings and any other relevant costs and comparisons. We have a seconder, Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Duff.
Maybe you should have a timeline on that. If you want it, do you want it so we look at the further budget deliberations or?
Yeah, look, I think within the time frame we're at this current time in the year, I'm happy that our particular managers and staff, we bring that back early next year.
Do you want to align it with the budget talks with the others?
Yep, and align it with budget reviews, yep. February? Too late? January, February, March? My birthday's in March, that's fine.
Alrighty, so we've got it there now. A report be brought back to the March Community Standing Committee in relation to electric mowers, including costings and any other relevant costs and comparisons. Moved Councillor Henson, second Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.10. Lease of the Blackbutt Sports Ground Oval to Timbertown Sporting and Community Hub Inc. The officer's recommendation that the committee recommend to council that council enter into a lease with Timbertown Sporting and Community Hub Inc. for lot 33 on RP 32391 and lot 78 on RP 167978. A, for a term of 10 years, and B, for $75 per annum plus GST. Do I have a mover? Councillor Froloff, seconder, Councillor Potter. Comments, questions, councillors? Councillor Henson.
Thank you. Yeah, just quickly, I think just what a wonderful initiative by these locals in Blackbutt to take this on. As it's stated there in the report, locals have been maintaining and having some functions there over the past 7-8 years, I believe, since the lease has run out. So I think that's a great credit to that community down there and wish them all the best.
Thank you, councillor. And just quickly, they've started up touch competitions with juniors and seniors. They've got about 50-odd juniors that play touch first on a Tuesday night, and then they have 8 teams. And they're raising around about $750 to $1,000 every touch night. And they've just been successful in getting a $25,000 grant to upgrade the kitchen facility. So they are really kicking goals down there. So, yep, fully support that. So we have the committee recommendation that the committee recommend to council that council enter into a lease with the Timbertown Sporting and Community Hub Inc. for lot 33 on RP 32391 and lot 78 on RP 167978. A, for a term of 10 years. B, for $75 per annum plus GST. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We've done 9.11 and 9.12. now go to 913, adoption of most appropriate use assessment for 1 Pound Street, Kingaroy. And the officer's recommendation that the committee recommend to council that the report prepared by AEC for the most appropriate use of council-owned property at Pound Street, Kingaroy, described as Lot 13 on RP 814986, be adopted by council as the preferred development of the property. And 2, suitably qualified and experienced contractor be engaged to prepare a master plan for the property. Do we have a mover? Councillor Froloff, seconder. Councillor Henson. Questions, comments, councillors? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, I think it's a great report. There's a lot of information in here, which I think is really relevant. Particularly, it'd be good to share with some of our businesses on the back of the KTP project too. Very, very great findings in here. A couple of questions. The first one was, in terms of the most appropriate use, I just wanted to confirm through the master planning process, if we go through this process and then market this property in that particular way, and a commercial entity comes forward and says, that's wonderful, but I want to build something, that's in line with this report, but doesn't necessarily align with that master plan. Are we bound by what we're moving here, or is there flexibility there? Because I know, while this is a great report, I'm just trying to understand from a marketing perspective, if somebody came forward with another application or wanting to do something, how that positions council.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Acting Mayor. So if we market it or go and get a master plan developed, then we'd be going out and with that concept. It would be, if someone came up with a different proposal and put forward, it would certainly be up to council's consideration. If we went through and did a proper, we're not planning on at this stage, a recommendation is not to actually do a formal development application and lock in those uses, but you would put it forward. So we just as this is the preferred option. So we want to leave it flexible enough that people would come through. So the idea wouldn't be to actually do a master plan, do a planning scheme amendment, make zoning a mixed zoning across the block of land. So, but it would be basically that we would try to do a master plan that would facilitate the outcome without locking us into that. So if someone did come up with a proposal that, and it might be the mix of whether it be high retail versus community use sort of thing. So I wouldn't see it locking us into it. I think that master plan comes back and we'd have further discussions on that. And it may be that someone might come back and say they're happy to proceed with this component of what we want to see there. So you might have half the site developed with a really beneficial outcome that you're looking for, whether it be retail straight away for a section, but you are retaining the remaining part of the site for a future aged care or retirement, whatever that use might be. So trying to keep our options open as much as possible.
Yeah, so this will allow us to in some ways, stage what the future, the end result of Pound Street may be, and I guess gauge those commercial entities or whoever developer may come along through that master planning process and agree with the concept or a particular piece of it and like to develop a section of that block for that purpose. This process allows us to do that. I guess I was just trying to understand our time frame, because I know we've been talking about Pound Street for some time, and I know there's a lot of things going on. So just, wanting to understand for our community what the time frame for this master planning process on the back of the report is, because very mindful of this opportunity we've currently got for some growth in our region and the interest in our region at this point. Good question.
I think the outcome of the assessment has probably identified that a mixed use is the best outcome. So what the report has highlighted that it may have been not in council's interest to offer it as like if you're offered as one parcel of land or one complete use for, say, an aged care retirement village, then you may have been missing an opportunity for that highway retail or the retail on the highway. So I think the report has actually opened up those options and identified that you don't offering the block as one parcel for one use is not necessarily the best use of it. So I suppose it has taken us in a different direction and allowed to, well, if you've got different uses, then yes, if it could all be put together at once, that would be great, but maybe staging those uses is the way to get the best use out of the block of land, rather than sell it to one developer who will develop 3/4 of it and the other quarter will be sort of just ancillary or not as beneficial to that development. So yeah, I think that's sort of the outcome of the report has dictated where we go to now, is that we are looking at that mixed use rather than a single use. The outcome, I imagine, as we said, the master planning and sort of looking at what the best, get some advice on what the best way to market something like that is probably over the next 6 months type time frame.
Yeah, thank you. I think I certainly agree. I think the reporting and the process that we've been through has been excellent, and the opportunities for that lot of land has really opened our mind to what could be there. And certainly I look forward to being in a position where we can move it forward. So I think the 6-month time frame based on what's sort of happening in our region is fair and reasonable. And I think this process will give us a better result in the end. So thank you for the work that's gone into it, and I look forward to the master planning process and further conversations. I guess that was my last question, sorry. Just in relation to the findings of this report and that master planning, what kind of conversations, how do you see us actually starting to share or sell this story with our community? Because I know they've watched this block of land with great interest for some time now. So, do we have a session to share the learnings from this report and where we're going, or is there a plan for some sort of stakeholder engagement, or are we going to hold off until we've got that master plan and we're ready to go to market, I guess, is probably the final piece.
I think that's something we need to discuss a little bit more and work through. I think that's something very worthwhile. I think you're exactly right. There are business owners out there and community that would be very interested in having some input into this. So, yeah, we need to have a bit of a think about how we're going to run the community consultation around this.
Yeah, I think adding to that, there were a number of people who participated and that AEC interviewed as part of developing the report. So it would be going back to those people. Part of preparing the master plan would be, again, consulting with those groups and businesses and that. So, yeah, I agree. I picture that we will be involved with, we won't be preparing a master plan and saying, here's what we got. We will be going back and working with those the real estates and the businesses that had input and interest in it, they will still, and so, yeah, they will influence where the master plan goes to.
Yeah, thank you. In my opinion, that's the right answer. Thank you very much. Perfect.
Took a while to get to the right answer. Thank you. Good job. Okay, the committee recommendation. Moved by Councillor Frolos, seconded by Councillor Henson, that the committee recommend to council that the report prepared by AEC for the most appropriate use of council-owned property at Pound Street, Kingaroy, described as Lot 13 on RP 814986, be adopted by council as the preferred development of the property. A suitably qualified and experienced contractor be engaged to prepare a master plan for the property. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, that's we have no questions on notice at 10.1. Yes, sorry. What is it? 162. I thought that was confidential. So I got there, and then I got.
Yeah, no, there was. I'm just wondering if it's a PDF, but there is. It's a question notice was received by email from Mayor Otto on the 12th of October, just requesting a report or information on NRM spraying contract services, efficiency and budget saving. The response is that the report is being prepared and will be tabled at the December Standing Committee meeting. So they're just to be received for information.
So that's at what, item 10.1? I had the Proston Pool Management on there as 10.1. Okay. So 10.1, questions on notice. Apologise for the misunderstanding here. The recommendation that the response to the question raised be received and a report presented to the December Community Standing Committee meeting on NRM spraying contract services. Do I have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Fryloff. All those, or questions, comments? Happy with the explanation, councillors? All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so we now move on to 11.1, which is confidential. So the officer's recommendation that the council considers a confidential report listed below in the meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 254J, section G of the Local Government Regulation, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as it deals with negotiations relating to the commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. So I therefore like to move that we move into confidential. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fryloff. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So we've just come back out of confidential and we've dealt with the 11.1 Proston Pool Management and the officer's recommendation that the committee recommend to council that the offer received to manage the Proston Pool not be accepted. So, Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment, well, I guess it's not an amendment, it's a complete change, that the officer's recommendation to manage the Proston Pool be negotiated.
So you see there, councillors, that Councillor Duff has moved an amendment to the recommendation that the committee recommend to council that the South Bennett Regional Council negotiate the offer to manage the Proston Pool. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker. Questions, comments before we go to the vote? All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. That concludes our Community Standing Committee meeting for the month of November. I'll declare the meeting closed at 12:42. Is it? 12:40. Thank you all.